Well, Stan has a question.
Hi, Alan. This is Stan from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I want to thank you for your ministry. I've been very blessed by it, your articles, and your books. I'm talking about Revelation chapter 6, verse 14, the sixth seal. And this verse 14 that says, "And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together." I'm wondering if you think there is a visual element, a visual revealing at that point that is what tips off the kings of the earth and the great men and all those who say to the rocks, "Fall on us," and hide us from him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. I'm wondering if you think there's a visual element. These are the group that identifies wrath has begun. Do they just know, or do they actually see something when the heavens depart as a scroll? Thank you.
Yes, Stan, very good question. The short answer is absolutely. They will see what they testify that they see, and that is, it says, fall on us, hide us from the face of the one who is seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. And a lot of commentators, and I pointed this out in my book, by the way, Antichrist Before the Day of the Lord, what every Christian needs to know about the return of Christ. I point out that there is a cause and effect action between the splitting of the sky and the wicked seeing who is going to judge them. The sixth seal is the seal that announces the impending wrath of God. The seventh seal, when the seventh seal is broken, then the scroll can now be opened up, and the contents of it, the trumpet and bowl judgments, is the day of the Lord's wrath. But the sixth seal, so the fifth seal, as I like to say, the fifth seal promises wrath. The sixth seal portends wrath, and the deliverance of two groups of people in chapter 7 protects from wrath, and then the seventh seal pronounces wrath. But getting back to your question, I actually addressed this. I don't know if you missed that in the book or not, but just maybe as a review, this is what I wrote about this text that you're asking about the sixth seal, and whether they are just whether it's a literal or it should be interpreted in a literal sense, and I think it does. I don't think there's no reason not to, and I'm going to give a reason why in a moment here. But so this is what I wrote about this. It says that John uses ominous imagery to describe the sixth seal. The sun became as black as sackcloth made of hair, and the full moon became blood red, or like blood red. Sackcloth was a coarse material made out of blacks, goat's hair, symbolizing soberness and mourning. What will the ungodly be mourning for? Their very lives. The moon will turn ominously blood red color. Most likely the same event causing the sun to darken will also cause the darkening of the moon. The celestial lights will go dark, preparing for the luminous divine glory to radiate the globe. And then I wrote another heavenly element that our Revelation passage portends is the falling of celestial bodies. The stars in the sky fell to the earth like a fig tree dropping its unripe figs when shaken by a fierce wind. And I wrote that this language may indicate an unprecedented meteor shower, and it will be accompanied by the sky being split apart like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place. This language, I wrote, can be described that the sky could be no longer be seen. It's a very interesting Greek word behind here, apocalyptic. And yeah, it connotes the idea of this notion that, the sky being split as if it could no longer be seen. And this exceptional imagery of the sky splitting apart or disappearing probably serves the purpose of disclosing. Now, this is what a lot of commentators miss, this cause and effect action. There's a reason why the sky is splitting, right? And here it is. It probably serves the purpose of disclosing to the ungodly the presence of God in heaven. For in the next very sentence, the ungodly cry, "Hide us from the face of the one who is seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb." And the term for, so in other words, they're seeing the sky. I believe this is not merely symbolism, as a lot of commentators note. No, this is going to be a supernatural event. When Christ comes back, we're going to know it. And we're going to know it because these are supernatural events, not because of some, symbolism. And no, these are going to be literal physical events. And that's why you have this cause and effect action. The sky is splitting apart, and the wicked understand this is not going to be some, naturally freakish event. No, they're going to know that the origin of this is divine. They know it's going to be divine wrath, which explains their behavior in the next text. That is, they're running to the mountains and fearing for their lives. Then I wrote, the term for face is prosopon, which can mean a literal face or someone's personal presence. This presence, combined with the upheaval all around them, will cause them to try to flee from God. So during the sixth seal, God will split the sky to disclose his presence from heaven to be seen by the ungodly. This event is classically apocalyptic. And a lot, again, people misunderstand. They make the fallacy of disjunction in that they think apocalyptic can't mean literal. No, that's not true. Apocalyptic is, the language here indicates that you have a divine inbreaking of God in some supernatural judgment mode. Okay? And so here, the wicked, they understand, again, this is a divine origin in the expression of wrath. And I note the sky splitting apart, certainly this is going to be one of the most jaw-dropping elements in this celestial overture. And no Hollywood producer will be able to imitate what this event is actually going to depict. And so then I wrote, this will pave the way for Jesus' descent from heaven to gather his people to himself. If you recall, it's kind of interesting. There's a similar, not similar, but there is somewhat of analogy here in the Old Testament. If you recall in 2 Kings chapter 6, right, the Syrian king is bringing down chariots, horses, to attack Israel or the prophet Elijah. And you have the prophet Elijah's servant, right, is having some angst. Like, wait a minute, we're kind of outnumbered here, right? But Elisha says, in verse 15, when the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, alas, my master, i.e. Elisha, what shall we do? He said, do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Then Elisha prayed and said, O Lord, please open his eyes, that is my servant's eyes, and that he may see. So the Lord opened his eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. We have to understand, there is a dimension out there that we do not see. We don't have eyes to see, but we have to trust that there is a angelic presence, there's a demonic presence, there's a spiritual warfare. And so just here as notice, God opened up Elijah's servant's eyes to see the reality of that dimension, and that they were not outnumbered, but the Syrians, Syrian kings, chariots and horses, they in reality were outnumbered by God's army. And so that's what I see happening here. God is going to give the wicked eyes. Just before the day of the Lord's judgment, just before Christ returns, God is going to give the wicked eyes to see the one who is going to unleash judgment upon them. He's going to give them eyes. It's going to be a supernatural event. There's no other way to explain that. So anyway, Stan, I appreciate your question. And so, yes, this is going to be a literal event. They are actually going to see. I believe that the sky will be split apart, almost disappearing, to see this new dimension. And the dimension is the Lamb of God, who is going to pour out wrath upon them. And that's why they're fleeing. They're fleeing to the caves. So I hope that answers your question. And anyone else, if you have other questions, you can write us, or you can go to the website AlanKirshner.com, and you can leave actually an audio voice question.